So Hyte is essentially a web and smartphone application that allows a user to book a private airplane from anywhere.
Welcome to Innovator Tribe Outside the Bubble,
a show about bridging the gap between the inspiration of an idea to the creation of a product.
What's up, Ahmad?
What's up, Toye?
What's going on, brother?
Everything is everything, and I'm doing everything with a smile. I'm trying to do everything with a smile. It's been a long week.
Oh, man, I definitely feel you on that too, man. I definitely had a long week, and it's definitely been hard to keep that smile going. But at the end of the day, you gotta do what you need to do so you can do what you want to do.
It's like one of my favorite quotes is like from Invictus, like I've been thinking about being the master of my fate, the captain of my soul. So that's been helping me drive through as well.
Yeah, I feel you, man. And, that's definitely one of my favorite poems as well. I think whatever God may be for my unconquerable soul, that's one of my favorite lines. I'm saying one of my favorite bars right there.
It's kind of ironic though, because like outside of like the personal stuff, man, we've been, I gotta give a shout out to all the love we've been getting so far from the episode. Like we've been getting a lot of love for everybody's support and sharing. We see all the comments and the feedback so far. I just wanted to slide that in there a little bit, man. Shout out to all our listeners, man. We love you guys.
Yeah. Thank you guys for showing so much support so far. And we definitely plan on continuing to bring you guys quality content that will inspire and illuminate your path on entrepreneurship.
Yeah, and one of those stories we're highlighting today is from a guy named J.B. Adkins. He's a pilot turned digital consultant turned app developer. It's an interesting story of how he bridged all those paths into building this really cool app called Hyte.
Yeah, and this guy, flew his first plane at the age of 11 years old. I don't know too many people that can say they've flown a plane. Needless to say, they've flown a plane at 11 years old.
Because when you hear about Hyte, you've been like, oh, okay, this is like the Uber for private planes, and then it's like, wait. This guy legitimately like knows how to fly a plane, and he's building this app. So just a whole completely different type of this authenticity to it. Yeah. It's just totally so cool.
Yeah, and he kept it all the way 100 with us. He shared a story of him, going from being homeless with his family to actually starting this app called Hyte, and even shared with us his approach from going from the MVP to what it is now. And I really love the gem that he shared about before he even wrote one line of code. He put out a Craigslist ad to validate his idea, and that one Craigslist ad literally generated him about $5,000.
Yeah, you can't get more market validation than that. I think people resonate so much with this app and his pursuits that he's been conscious of turning down VC funding and VC capital to ensure that he has everything in place for the next iteration of what he's building. It takes a smart man to really recognize what's really in play when you're receiving money from an outside funder, and a lot of gems were shared in regards to that story.
We're just excited to share his story on Innovator Tribe Outside the Bubble, and I'm sure that you guys will enjoy JB's story as well. But before we get into it, please
subscribe
and rate us 5 stars.
5 stars. It really does help. I mean, if you're getting value from the show, if you're loving it, if you like bobbing your head and staying with us all the way through, and you're getting all those gems, you got that notebook, that pen filled up with so many notes, go ahead and just like leave a 5-star rating, leave a review.
And like the 5 stars would be great, but in all honesty, if you guys would just give us a rating and provide feedback, whether that's in the reviews, on our Facebook at Innovator Tribe, on our Twitter at Innovator Tribe, on our Instagram at Innovator Tribe, then we'll definitely do our job to make sure that the feedback is actually taken into consideration and helps us to improve the show. Let's go and get into it, Ahmad.
Let's get into it.
Cool breeze.
Just for the record for everybody, I connected with JB on Instagram randomly. One of your pictures or something you were promoting came across my Instagram feed, and I had just moved to Nashville, and I saw this. Like I went to your website, your personal website, and I was like, man, this guy is like really doing some serious stuff. Like he's really building some like awesome businesses. And I was like learning about your story, your background, and I had just failed at a startup that I was trying to build in Atlanta, and I just like really resonated with just the grit and grind that you've gone through, with your personal story. So you're very approachable too, and so like we connected on over Skype, and I think you were out in London meeting with some investors, and like I was like, all right, this guy is like really official, and so it was just like really cool to I appreciate you connecting with me back then. I'm excited to reconnect with you now and learning more about your business and how it's growing. I think our listeners too will really appreciate your journey as well too. So I mean, again, I can't thank you enough for taking out the time to connect with us and share your story. But first, we like to ask everybody, what is that hip hop song that gets you in your zone?
The hip hop song that gets me in my zone. My goodness, man, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I don't listen to a lot of hip hop, and I'm almost embarrassed to say that, man. But if I had to choose one recently, goodness gracious, I might have to pull up.
It doesn't have to be hip hop. It could be. We could broaden out. What's that song that? Yeah, it just gets you in your zone. You gotta get in that focus mind.
What's that song that you listen to before you go into those investor meetings?
Good. You know what, man? I'm gonna be honest with you guys. It's I love this group called Planetshakers. It's this Christian group out of Australia, bro. It is. I mean, the music, man, to me is just it's super powerful. So I kind of listen to that every time. Like even tomorrow, I got a meeting with a new client of mine, man. Who, strangely enough, who just got done producing a movie in Australia. Huge movie for this group. It's another Christian group. It's called Planetshakers. Anthem. It's really neat. But if I had to choose another song, I just thought of one, and it's crazy. I don't know if you guys have heard it. It's called Options by Luke James. Like my cousin turned me on to this dude, man. He's a songwriter though. He's like a songwriter and producer. But this song Options is like, it's got Rick Ross on it too, man. That one, it just goes so hard, man. Like the beat is ridiculous. So I don't know, that kind of
Options by Luke James. I will check that one out.
And Planetshakers, yeah, we got these entrepreneurs, we got to make sure we're focused and getting that state of mind.
Yes, bro. I love it.
We're definitely going to spend like a lot of time, getting in more into your story with aviation. But like there was one item in your bio that we dug up that was kind of interesting, and I kind of wanted to throw that into the conversation too. Like you were a music director at one point too.
You guys know, you guys intelligence, man.
we did some research, man.
Damn, bro. Oh,
so like, so is there any connection between aviation and you producing music videos with Fredro Start?
Fredro, that's my man. I love Fredro. It's funny, man. I actually, in some of my music videos, I've used helicopters like real cheap. It's one of the things I'm a resourceful cat. And like, not to brag or anything like that, man, but like for clients, when I was first starting out, I was like, man, I got all these pilot buddies, people I went to school with, folks I'm sponsored by and all that. So when a client would fly out to do a video with me, I would bring out the works. I'd be like, yo, we're going to throw a helicopter in the video. So immediately that added like a whole new level of production value. And people started buzzing like, yo, JB, like integrate that company, man. They brought out helicopters and did this and had fire dancers. So I would just try to reach, like kind of punch above my weight class, man, when it came to that and press clients that way. It's crazy, man. So yeah, in a roundabout way, aviation did tie into my music video career. But yeah, I had to slow down on that, man. I was kind of living the fast life. And being a married man, and directing those videos, bro, can have a brother a little side. You feel me?
I understand.
I'm
You
just
gotta
being
keep a happy
transparent.
wife.
What's that?
Happy wife, happy life,
Exactly, man. I've learned a lot, man. So my wife is such a blessing to me, though. She's she's stuck by me, man, all this time. So I'm grateful for it. But yeah, music videos, man. It's I've met a lot of interesting people, racked up a lot of friendships, man, that I wouldn't have dreamed of. Honestly, Fredro, folks like that. Some R&B stars, Kenny Lattimore, people like that, man, are definitely good friends of mine. But the industry, man, that's a whole nother story. That is a whole nother game, man. I made some good money, and I decided, with the family and the way I was trying to take my life, I didn't think it was going to work for me, man, in that sense. So I had to shut things down, but kind of parlayed that into this new career with consulting and digital marketing and all that. So taking everything I learned from running a production company and directing videos and producing to now, trying to help nonprofits and other organizations scale. So it's it's been an interesting career, man, so far.
And I'm just curious, like, how long have you been flying for?
So man, to answer your question about flying, bro, I started flying when I was 11, man. I'd always been intrigued by aviation. My dad is an Army officer. He's recently retired. So I kind of grew up around that, that culture, if you will. And so when I was 7, man, I remember my stepfather, who's not military, I remember him taking me to this movie. It's probably like back in 96, 95, I don't know, one of those. I think I was like 7 years old, man. And it was called The Magic of Flight. And this movie, man, was about the Blue Angels, and it kind of chronicled, like, from the Wright brothers all the way up to, like, the most sophisticated aircraft and technology that we have. And, man, ever since then, bro, I just remember being hooked. I remember being completely hooked on aviation. And so when I was 11 years old, I mustered up, not only the strength to ask my mom if I could do it, but, like some pocket change, man. I'd just been saving up, and remember going up to this spot. I think we were living in the Midwest at that time. It was a little airport called, I think it was Indianapolis Aviation or Indianapolis Metropolitan Airport in Indianapolis, Indiana, man. Dumped all my change out on the counter and said, hey, I want to take flying lessons, man. So I went up for my first flight at 11 years old with a gentleman named Chad Sears. I remember him to this day. I still got a picture framed up with me shaking his hand in front of the airplane. And that began my real journey into a career in aviation, man. So it's that's the short version. Stuck with me ever since, man. I love it.
You mentioned, going to Europe, and I kind of imagined, just based off of what I know about you, that you were actually literally flying yourself around to these like different countries. So he was there for a month and a half, and he was just flying from London to France to the other place that you mentioned.
I actually took the bus, man, believe it or not, from London to Paris, just because. I'm not a cheapskate, man, but the flights and the train were a little steep, and I was kind of trying to stack up. So I'm like, man, let me just go ahead and take this bus. Plus, I wanted to see the scenery and all that stuff, man, and cross the English Channel. It was an adventure, man. I'm all about adventure, so I ended up taking the bus. But it's always a consideration when I go somewhere where I can rent an airplane and fly myself. Seriously, I always consider. Like even this Dubai trip coming up, we spent a year trying to figure out how we can rent an airplane and fly around to all the destinations that we're going to, which I'll explain later if we get into that. But so it was a consideration, man.
Sign me up for that.
Oh, if it's cost effective,
is there an app for that?
Yeah, right. Well, there's bound to be.
Yeah.
There's bound to be, bro.
Like you don't hear too many people at 11 years old flying planes and learning how to fly.
So between flying and in directing music videos, were you always in? Because you're based out of LA, right?
Yeah, I'm based out of LA.
So were you always in LA?
No, man. I hopped around, man. My dad was an Army officer. I was born in Indiana, moved around there a little bit, moved to Columbus, Georgia when my dad got mobilized. So that was Fort Benning. He was on his way to Iraq. This is probably 2003. So I went to high school in Georgia, man, south of Atlanta. It's a little town called Columbus. It's right outside Fort Benning. I don't consider that home, but I went to high school out there. And then right after that, I got a Marine Corps scholarship and went down to Daytona Beach, man, to pursue that. And also Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University was basically like the Harvard of aviation. It's like the biggest aviation school on the planet. So went down there and worked on some advanced ratings. And believe it or not, man, I had a full ride scholarship from the Marine Corps, and I still have a picture. I should send it to you guys after this. It's me holding a $180,000 check with my recruiter, Staff Sergeant Pipkins. I love that dude, man, who got me my scholarship, helped me enlist, all that stuff. But after that, man, after a year at Embry-Riddle, I had the bug, man. I always wanted to do my own thing, and I was like, I love the Marine Corps, and it'd be awesome to be a fighter pilot, but at the end of the day, man, I'm going to owe at least 14 years of my life to these people, and I don't know if I'm ready to commit to that, especially wanting to go out and pursue business and start my own thing. So I dropped out, man, on a full ride, bro, and moved to LA. So that's how I got here. That was back in 2009, early 2009. So been going strong ever since, man, but it's been a journey. It has been a tremendous journey. So that's part of the story.
What was going through your mind, on how you were going to pursue your goal once you landed and arrived in LA?
Oh, man, it was, honestly, man, I think, at 19, 20, man, you just kind of have this naivety and this sort of, they call it deferred judgment, It's kind of like your brain, your mind is not ready to accept or deal with the reality of what you've gotten yourself into. So you just kind of tell yourself and convince yourself that everything's going to work. And it does eventually, I'd hope. It worked for me. But man, I think that the biggest thing, man, is just understanding that there's no limit, man. And I know that sounds kind of cliche, but for me, I never felt like there were limitations on me. I felt like I could do anything. That's why I travel. I feel like whatever I want to accomplish, nothing's stopping me. And if there is something stopping me, it's usually just knowledge, right? And that, these days especially, because we live in the age of information, can be made up for in a very short period of time. So I feel like whatever it was that I needed to do to get to where I was here in LA, I could just learn. And by the way, I moved out here with no money, man. I had no money left when I moved out here. I literally borrowed money from a friend of mine from Embry-Riddle. Borrowed like $80 just to make up for the difference for a flight. So I was dating a girl who worked at Delta, and I was like, I can get a standby flight for like $99 one way. So my buddies.
All right. Hey, so from the beginning.
Yeah, man. Look, man, it's been crazy. So man, I literally.
It's $1 in a dream.
Right, literally, bro. That's what it was. So, I remember sitting in the library at Embry-Riddle prior to moving out here officially and looking for an apartment on Craigslist. And I found something in Koreatown. I didn't know what Koreatown was. Because I'd been to LA before, but not really explored like that. It's a little bit different when you're, trying to make that transition as far as moving. And so, I found this apartment. It was like $250 or something like that on Craigslist. And I called the guy right then. I was like, hey, I'm going to be there tonight. Can you hold this for me? And it was just like blind faith, man. Like I ain't met the guy, don't know what the deal is, don't know what the area is. And I just remember borrowing this money from my friend. I had like my last $300 from this laptop I had just sold, and going to LA, showing up, taking a shuttle down, to Koreatown. And then all of a sudden I'm in this apartment. It's a studio, by the way, with no kitchen and 2 bunk beds flanking each other. And then like a little bit on the side. Man, do you know that I was sharing an apartment with 5 guys, a studio?
You sound determined to get it by any means. I'm not surprised that you did that.
Bro,
5 dudes in one studio, like that's like dorm life right there, times 5.
Bro, it was worse than a dorm. I mean, even at my dorm at Riddle, okay, and in college, it was like 2 beds, right? And like a decent, probably like a 400 square foot dorm with a little kitchenette, a nice size shower and all that stuff. This was literally like a room with no air conditioning and like a shower. Like I'm not even playing, man. And like 5 dudes, like bunk beds. And you had another dude like on a pull-out bed. But I remember coming home one day to that studio, and we got like just being like, "Yo, you gotta go." I think somebody was doing, and this wasn't me, man. I promise you. I'll be honest if it were. Somebody was doing some drugs or something like that, man. Some coke. I mean, in LA, man, it's one of those cities where anything goes. I'm 19, 20. I don't know what's going on, man. But all I know is
I'm just happy to be there.
Yeah, I was just happy, man. I had 1 suitcase, and I was gone every day. I just needed a place to rest my head and take a nasty shower in that disgusting freaking. Oh my God, that was the worst part of this. Man. I'm still thinking about that shower right now, man. That's
Don't think about it. It's not
God,
ever gonna
thanks a
happen.
lot. I want to just erase that from my memory, but that was, but at that moment, that was when I kind of got like, okay, I don't like this might not work out, man, because that was like the cheapest option, $250, for 5 guys. And in fact, now that I think about it, I think that might be one of the reasons we got kicked out. I think somebody was subletting when they weren't supposed to be, because I mean that's kind of illegal. You have five grown.
Somebody was hustling too.
Exactly, man. It was, yeah. So so we got evicted, man. And long story short, actually, it's probably in a short story. One of the other dudes and myself, his name was Royce, was trying to be an actor and all this stuff. I didn't really know him that well, but he seemed like the best prospect to kind of try to get something else going with in terms of a living situation. So I just spent all day on Craigslist, man, at the library in LA, like looking for a new spot. But everything is like, $1,000, even to rent a room, you're talking about $800, man. It was like, man, I ain't got that right now.
So was this the point where you're like, okay, I need to get Hyte up and going like right now? Can you also kind of describe what Hyte is for our listeners?
Yeah, so Hyte is essentially a web and smartphone application that allows a user to book a private airplane from anywhere. So we're not dealing with jets. These are 4-seat airplanes. If you look up in the sky, I'm sure on any given day, if you live in America, you'll see these little tiny airplanes. They're single engine. Most people probably know them as prop planes, right? Little Cessnas and stuff like that. What I saw is that those aircraft are being underutilized. And so, why not try to use those aircraft as an alternative to traditional air travel? Because we're treated like cattle, man. The airlines obviously don't care about us, right? Ticket prices are going up, and then the service, the level of service is going down if you're talking domestic flying. So I was like, man, how could we interpolate a business model between traditional carriers and private charter, which is out of most people's league, paying $15,000 for a flight from LA to Vegas. That's not really feasible for most people to drop $15,000 for a 30-minute flight. So I wanted to find the happy medium between that and to also provide a way to service the cities and airports that traditional carriers don't service. So that's essentially what Hyte is in a nutshell. But it just makes it easier to have, we provide access to these aircraft through technology, essentially. So that's why it's not a technology company per se, but it is because we need technology in order to make our business model work efficiently, if that makes sense.
But at what point were you able to, start seeing some results towards Hyte?
Let me be more specific, man. So with Hyte, that concept, I tried to kick that off when I was in high school, right? When I first got my pilot's license, I was 17. In Columbus, Georgia, it's about a 5-hour drive from this little city in Florida called Destin in the Panhandle, sort of on the Gulf. So for my junior and senior year, everybody would head down there for spring break, down to Destin. And so I was a freshly minted pilot. I was like, oh man, I can build some more time for free if I just charge my friends, like $150 and fly them down there in an hour as opposed to them having to drive. It'd probably save them money anyway. And so that is the first iteration of Hyte right there. I always knew I wanted to start something in aviation, which is why I wasn't as interested in the actual flying as a career. I love flying. I'm passionate about it. But with Embry-Riddle, they're trying to mold you into an airline pilot and fighter pilot and all that. And I was like, that's cool, but I just like flying. I'm just passionate about it. I'm more passionate about entrepreneurship, though, and trying to apply my passion, for aviation towards that.
That's real.
You know what I'm saying, man? So that was sort of the first iteration in high school, but I got shut down by the FAA because according to regulations, that sort of operation it's illegal. So
regulations and adults, man, they can be frustrating. I get it.
But they're good. But you know what? Let me say this real quick about regulation. It's good because most people aren't willing to try to figure out how to overcome the regulation. So it makes my company that much more unique. You know what I'm saying? Like not everybody can just rush in and do it. So because the barrier to entry is high, and I know most people are too lazy to really see it through and just want quick results, I'm willing to sit there for 2.5 years and be like, I'll do it right. And then, the competition, it'll be a lot harder for them to, sort of get in there and disrupt things, man. But that's a side note.
So where are you exactly with Hyte?
Currently, Hyte, I mean, I'll be honest with you guys, man. We're not a multi-million-dollar company. We're not a multi-100,000. I mean, we are still proving the concept, man. It's relatively early, and we've been through a lot of. I mean, over the past 2.5 years or so, we've been through regulatory issues with the FAA. We've been through changes in aircraft. We've been through certificate thing. I mean, just it's because it's sort of a new airline business model. There is a lot, and it's just me because I've learned, from raising capital prior to this that it's not wise to waste somebody else's money on something unless you're 95% sure that you can turn a profit. To me, not even revenue. Like until you can figure out how to be profitable without money, like on a micro level, I don't want to deal with anybody else's money. And I learned that just from honestly losing somebody else's money before, man, and that hurt.
With entrepreneurship, it takes a lot of endurance just to get to even the point where you're at now. How do you get through the obstacles with the regulations and to because you mentioned you want to do it right. So like what's the story behind that? Like,
man, I think you just got to be obsessed. I mean, that's the thing, man. Like for me, that's why I have another business feeding me and my family. I guess, man, not worrying about the money frees me up to be able to really focus on seeing this thing through the right way, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm obsessed with it, man. This is something that I feel like I was put here on earth to do this. And I'm not, and I know a lot of people look at that and say, oh man, this dude, like that's cliche, but it's not. Like I'm obsessed, and I've always been with aviation. I tried to start this in high school, you know what I'm saying? So this isn't something I'm just coming out like, oh wow, I see everybody else doing, Facebook and Uber and all this, so I'm gonna start the Uber for X, you know what I'm saying? Or the Uber for dog washing or grooming or whatever. Like I'm not knocking those ideas. I'm just saying this is something I actually fundamentally believe that I can alter people's perspective on how this thing works forever. Meaning fundamentally changing the infrastructure of aviation in America, at least. I really believe that. And that's why I'm so patient with it. It's
you fly real planes, so I think you have a special insight into it.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like I've been flying, man, since I was a kid, and it's like I've been in the game, so I'm not just coming at it from a sort of amateurish perspective. Like, ooh, this is, I have this idea and I can make some money if I hustle it up and raise. I'm like, that's why I'm not even trying to raise money because I'm like, you know what? I know how to. Not that I don't need help and a network and all that, but I'm like, let's prove the concept. It's gonna work. I don't want to raise any money until I absolutely need it. And when you need it, that means you got paying customers. And you just need more money to go find more paying customers. That's all you really need working capital for. I don't really see why else you would need it.
You actually just said, I think, a term that helps illustrate the product development process, having a proof of concept.
Oh yeah, man. Oh, bro. I mean, you gotta. My thing is, man. See, okay, let me start from the beginning. In August of 2014, so I had spent 2 months prior to that drawing up plans for Hyte. I just got back from India. A partner of mine and I from Australia, we had this little business called Exclusive, and it was kind of like a high-end Uber, right? Mm-hmm. So it was like we were using like Rolls Royces and all. I had a bunch of connections in music videos, and we had used cars before, so we were trying to kind of aggregate all those vehicles and like create this sort of upper echelon Uber, right, for the elite. So we went to India for a while and got, we're trying to get software developed and all that. That's a whole nother story. I learned a lot about outsourcing software.
Wow, so you actually flew to India?
Yeah, we went to India. But dude, here's the thing, man. Let me, another little plug. I would much rather spend $3,000 on an international trip for 2 or 3 weeks to meet and work alongside the people that are going to be building what I need to succeed than trying to be really cheap. So my thing is spend money where you need to spend money. And if it makes, a lot of times that makes sense. For a lot of people, they can't imagine, doing something like that because of they think it's cost prohibitive or what have you. But man, it's so cheap to travel these days, man. If you know how to travel hack and kind of know when to look and where to look and how to sort of navigate that, it becomes, and you look better. Honestly, you look better when you run around the world. When you say to somebody in Hong Kong, hey, I need this thing for my business and I'm going to come meet you next month, you can connect with CEOs that way. I've done it before. Like when people see you willing to go somewhere and meet them face to face and shake their hand and get deals done like that, you just come across on a whole nother level.
That adds credibility for sure.
Oh, absolutely, man. Absolutely. And then social proof if you're active on social media, which I'm not. But if people see you running around the world, I guess you could floss that up too. But that's a whole nother thing. But yeah, man, with Hyte and the proof of concept, as far as that goes, before I had raised any money or even talked about that, I found a buddy with an airplane because I had, resources. He had a small airplane, man. And I just posted an ad on Craigslist, man. I didn't incorporate, didn't do any of that busy work. It was all about the quickest path to revenue. And I think that's the biggest thing, man. Even when, my clients sometimes are trying to launch new ventures, I'm like, look, focus on the quickest path to revenue. Don't build a building. Don't go rent anything. Don't go raise any money. Don't go selling your debt. Just focus on what is the next biggest thing you need to do right now to move the needle, which is always how to get money or paying customers. That's it. And then learning as much as you can from that process. So that's what we did with Hyte, man. And within, I want to say it was about 6 hours of posting that Craigslist ad, all I posted was, hey, new startup, something to the effect of new startup, fly to Vegas with 3 friends for $500, fly to Palm Springs. And I put a little picture of an airplane that I ripped off of Google, Google Images or whatever. And man, somebody hit me up like that day and was like, yo, like I want to do this, and gave me $2,500, man. For that. So we made.
That's some validation.
Oh yeah, it was that. That's what it was. We just wanted to validate the concept, man. So within, we did, I want to say it was a little over $5,000 in revenue in about 2 days. So that was my proof of concept in the beginning. It was like, okay, well, we did $5,000 in 2 days between like 4 or 5 flights. And even with that, man, it was like, we were profitable. We clocked like, I think it was like 18% pre-tax. Like it was like $900 something, man, in profit in my pocket just from posting a Craigslist ad and facilitating the flights. So that to me demonstrated that there is demand for this thing. And thus, I started the process towards trying to make it into a real viable business, hiring a lawyer, incorporating the right way, doing all the crazy 83B and all the technical businessy stuff, and then looking at the possibility of raising money in the future, which I pursued, you know what I'm saying? So that was that, man. It's about proof of concept. But then around that time I went broke again. That's a whole nother story.
You kind of skated over. I want to dig into a little bit more about, because you did raise some capital at one point with Hyte, but what happened there? Like, did something like not fall through, or you had lessons learned from that story?
Yeah. So what happened to and this is before I really became militant about not using other people's money. You know what I'm saying? Because I was a part of that fad too, man. Like, oh man, I'm looking on TechCrunch and Fast Company and so-and-so raised 30 million, Series A this, C, whatever. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, oh man, well, I got an idea and I've got proof of concept. So, why? And part of it too is this, man. I needed money to go and to really scale this concept up. It does take capital. In my case, right? Mm-hmm. It did. And it still does to a degree, but I've kind of figured out how to still operate just through partnerships without having to go and raise a bunch of money to get a fleet and all that stuff. But I did raise a small convertible note, and I didn't even ask for the money, man. One of my friends, a dear friend of mine, saw what I was doing and was like begging me to invest. So like on the like pre-seed, like just to get started and get like some of my documents and kind of do some of the more the stuff you kind of need to have locked up in the beginning, legally. I figured with this kind of concept, I kind of wanted to go about the legal things a certain way just because of the liability. So the money that I raised from him and his wife was sufficient to get me through that and then some. And then do some light marketing and stuff like that. But then I also got recruited for a TV show, man. There was a new TV series. It's called West Texas Investors Club. It was on CNBC. And this was like before they even sold the show. So I got contacted by them in December of 2014. And I thought it was fake. I was like, man, who are these dudes, man? Like, I don't even believe this is a real show. But long story short, in May, we were shooting. Like, it was a real show. I was on CNBC. And from there, like, the floodgates opened because, millions of people had seen me pitch Hyte, even though I'm kind of upset about how that went because TV always tries to skew stuff. And I know because I've worked in the industry. I know how that game is played. And so you're saying we could actually go and find this TV episode somewhere? Man, bro, I can send you guys the clip, man. It's crazy. It was a great experience, though, man. It allowed me to one of the biggest takeaways was obviously meeting those guys. It's actually Matthew McConaughey's brother, man. Matthew McConaughey's brother and his partner. They have this show. They're multi-millionaires, man. They're worth like over $100 million a piece. I'm not even kidding. These two country dudes from Texas who are in the oil business. They make like manufacture parts and steel. Two dudes are so unsuspecting you would never know. They're like at least a little over $100 million a piece, if I'm not mistaken, man. And so they just invest in entrepreneurs. It's kind of like a Shark Tank style show, but like a little bit more involved because each episode is about one entrepreneur, and they kind of take you and put you through the ringer and test you and stuff like that. So that was it was a lot of fun, man. But when they cut it all up and it aired in September, which is about 6 months later, it kind of was like, man, nah, I didn't say that. Like they added some sound bites and chopped and screwed some stuff. I was like, what? That's crazy, man. So it kind of made me look a little. My pitch was strong, man, but it kind of made me look like I hadn't done my due diligence, and I thought that was really going to hurt me. But I got a lot of phone calls, man. Even the network, CNBC was hitting me up like, "Hey, you got folks trying to get in touch with you. Is it okay if we release your name?" Man, a lot of people hit me up for wanting to invest and stuff like that. But I never ended up raising any additional capital as a result, just because I felt like I wasn't at a place where I wanted, I needed to do it right then, just because I wanted to hone in on some things and prove the concept more. But nonetheless, it definitely helped, man. It definitely helped.
I'm trying to understand. Are you saying that you declined the investment offers, or after you had that round, that's when you started declining investment offers?
Yeah. So you know what? When they actually didn't end up investing, man. They didn't end up investing. I asked for $75K. I think it was for like 30%. I think it was like on a $250,000. Yeah, like $250K pre-money valuation or something like that. And I was like, nah, man, like. Yeah, after that, I was like, you know what? Let me go ahead and really kind of do some soul searching to figure out what I need the money for exactly. Because the real reason I went on there, I asked for the $75,000 because I wanted to acquire a company that already had the sort of legal things that I needed to fly per the FAA. And I won't even go into that because I don't want to confuse you guys. But it takes a really long time to get set up with the FAA, like 4 years. So I was like, man, we can't really wait that long. Because if there's a possibility it could take 18 months to 4 years. So I was looking for companies to acquire and on the phone with brokers and all that. And so I was like, man, I need the money just to go and buy a company so we can jumpstart things. But they didn't really. They for the West Texas guys, they thought that the liability was too high. Basically, they were like, all you need is one incident and you're out of business. And I was like, well, not really, because we separated the liability. We got two corporations. One's holding the software and technology, and the other's holding the aviation thing, all that. So it's a whole process with that, man. But yeah, I didn't end up raising on that, Toya. I didn't end up raising on the show, and subsequently went ahead and shut down my efforts to pursue raising any more capital until I felt like it was really like we actually really, really, really needed it.
Man, but not too many people, can say they even got to that point. So like that story is awesome. I kind of want to just like at least ask one more question from me, at least for this portion. You got a lot of momentum, a lot of positive momentum going on your way with Hyte, just from everything that you shared so far. What's on your radar to keep moving the needle forward?
Well, man, it's funny you mentioned that, Ahmad, because as of December 31st, I scaled down my efforts with some clients. So now I'm kind of like, I'd say 80% of my time is allocated as of like yesterday, literally, towards Hyte now. Because one of the things that I struggled with before was, as a man with a family, I'm a young guy, been married for 5 years, got a young son, all that. It's tough, man, when you're trying to balance, pursuing your dream in terms of building the company you're obsessed with and then putting food on the table. And all the things that I learned from going broke and being homeless and living on a friend's couch for 5 months with a 4-month-old and stuff like that, that really humbled me to realize that, my family's first, and as long as I keep things, as long as I prioritize things the right way, I'll be fine. And I don't want to compete with anybody else's time frame or success, meaning I used to spend a lot of time comparing myself and where I was to where everybody else was, a la the people I read about in TechCrunch and all that, like, oh man, they doing this, and man, I ain't nowhere. I'm still working and grinding and blah, 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 blah. But it's like, what skills do you have today that allow you to generate enough income to free up your time to focus on your dream? That's my formula now. Like, okay, good. I've run several businesses. Some have been good and made some money. Some have not been. How can I take that experience and parlay it into something valuable for somebody else? Which for me, I found out that was strategy and marketing. And really, it's just advising companies on how to get to the quickest path to revenue. And on the marketing side, using the internet to reach as many of your customers and constituents as possible. And I found that to be sort of my core skill set. So that's what I'm using and leveraging to make money.
We talked about having a developer. Did you actually go to India to source the developer, or how have you find somebody to help you build at least the website that you currently have up right now? And I know you're also in the process of building a mobile app, right?
Yeah, that's correct. So before, I've been through several iterations with developers. And so my strategy has shifted over the last couple months. I have freed up all my time so I can just build the prototype myself. I built this, the website you guys are seeing right now. If you go to hyteapp.com, that site you see up there minus the application, because the application that functionality is not working right this second. But the site you see now, I built that. So here's the thing, man. Like there's so much information out there. Like even like Udemy and stuff like that. If people would just buckle down and just dedicate time towards learning whatever they need to learn to get what you need done, like it's so worth it, man. So I'm like between YouTube and Udemy, bro, like that's how I'm doing it, man. Like I didn't know anything about programming or anything like that a couple years ago. And I just hopped in head first, learned, CSS, HTML with, the basics. Then I jumped into doing Bootstrap and some frameworks and then Ruby on Rails. And now I'm looking at, Swift and, all these other frameworks and all that stuff, man, to try to build, a prototypical version of what I need to get to the next level. And that way I'll be able to communicate more effectively with developers, because that's something I struggled with before. I lost an awesome developer because he explained to me how difficult it was to keep up with what I was trying to do, because I would have ideas and I would think we could go about it a certain way, and then he'd have like 80 items. Like I would just come up with one thing, like, hey man, let's add this functionality. He'd be like, okay, well, we got to do this and that and blah blah blah. And I was like, man, I don't know what I'm talking about at all. Like I have no clue what I'm doing. So let me take a step back, rearrange my life to fit my need to learn at this point, and let me figure out how to speak his language and build something for myself again, right? So that I can, communicate with my team more effectively. So I'm back to square one. It's just me again. You know what I'm saying? But in addition to that, I've got, a partner with an airplane. We're utilizing that airplane to do flights right now. I'm still running small marketing campaigns here and there, just to kind of keep the momentum moving until this web application is done. So this should be done mid-February for sure. This other iteration of the web application, just because I'm spending all my time focusing on it.
No, I was just gonna say you got so many like valuable nuggets of just knowledge that you just share with that story. This is awesome.
Yeah, I heard Udemy.com.
Oh,
I think I totally agree with him. You dropped some real nuggets in there, some real jewels and real gems, and we're gonna make sure to add all those tools that he just mentioned in the show notes.
Oh, for sure, man. Also, look, 1 month, there's a company called 1 month. It's run by this guy named, what's his name? He's real cool too, man. I'll think of it in a minute. But anyway, he has this company that went through Y Combinator. It's called 1 month. And but Google, have the audience Google 1 month Rails. If you Google that, man, he's got courses that in 1 month, he'll teach you how to do it'll be like 1 month Rails, and he's got like 1 month growth hacking, 1 month HTML5. He's got like 1 month everything. And basically what you do is you buy the course, and then it'll teach you how to do that thing in 1 month. If you're dedicated, if you follow their curriculum. It's tight, man. It's tight. I'm telling you, it works.
That actually leads into our rapid fire rounds.
Oh, wow.
It does, because you actually mentioned, obviously you really appreciate the 1 month tool.
Yes.
And I've never actually heard of that before, so I'm definitely going to go check that out, because even just being able to have some sort of understanding of code, I think is valuable to any tech entrepreneur.
Oh, 100%, man. Yeah.
So you can actually add 1 month to this question or to your answer, but the question is, what are the top 3 tools you would have recommended to yourself when you first started working on the idea?
Ooh, man, I'm gonna say it like this: Keynote, man. Keynote is the top tool, just because if you want to be able to portray or convey rather your idea, like that to me is the biggest thing. Like mapping out the idea on paper. So brush up on Keynote, on Photoshop. That's really in the reverse order. Photoshop is my first tool because I use that to mock up my apps beforehand. Keynote would be the second tool, and then third, I would say, godly, WordPress, man. WordPress is a godsend, bro. It is, man. WordPress, and I would say 3A would be Themeforest. Seriously, man. You can take that.
What was that again? I didn't hear that.
It's Themeforest. So there's this company called
Themeforest. Gotcha.
Yeah.
The templates.
Exactly. Get a template, man, and slap together your idea if you don't know how to code.
Themeforest. I love it.
So with everything with JB, he 2x everything. So like instead of providing 3 resources, he just added additional 2 and just added 5.
I know that's too many. I know you guys said 3. I'm sorry. It's so exciting.
It's all good. It's all good.
Dropping gems. Maybe we need to make it the top 5.
Some more tools too if you guys need it.
JB's top 5.
Got to, man. And then Bubble. Can I say, okay, this is 4 then. Let me just, I don't want to take up too much time, but Bubble, man, I just discovered that about 5 months ago, and I built something on there. If you don't, this is powerful right here. If you don't know how to code, they have frameworks now. They're logic-based programming applications. You don't need to know how to code. You can build any web application in this almost, unless it's like machine learning. How do you say it? Learning how to mess that up.
It's so easier to enter and like, you know, just get testable ideas, you know, these days. You know, the barrier to entry is so low now.
Yeah, man.
But we still got this rapid fire round, and we gotta get you through it. So the next question for the rapid fire round: what do you do to keep sane?
Woo! I'm not sane. That's the thing, man. Next question. I'm not.
I feel like there's definitely a little crazy in every entrepreneur.
Oh my God, you kidding me, man? When we talk again, yeah, we'll go into that. I'm not. God keeps me level, just knowing that He's got me. Obviously, my wife and my son, man, are everything, man. I adore my wife. I love my son with everything, and I think just keeping in the forefront that it's not about me, man. That helps me stay level, honestly. It's not about me. That's why I don't do social media. That's why I don't want to gloat. I don't want to be recognized. I just want to do what I'm supposed to do. And if I'm recognized for it, cool. But I'm not. That's not why I'm doing it, if that makes sense.
No, for sure. And then lastly, what is your favorite business book?
Oh, man. See, this is another one of the questions, man. You guys are going to have to give me more than one, man. My favorite business book is probably, it might not be my favorite, but it's the one that changed my life. It's called E-Myth by Michael Gerber. The E-Myth. That changed the way I looked at business, man, for sure.
Yeah,
E-Myth. I've read that. That is a very good book.
It's on my list.
Love it. Oh man, it's great because you already do this a lot anyways, but essentially it's really about systemizing businesses, right? Like how do you set up a system around your business so that, when you're on vacation, in the Fiji Islands, it's still running.
Exactly, man. It separates you from your business. And that I didn't know. I had never really learned that. And that's what kind of threw me in the hole a few times before. My business was too me-centric. But E-Myth changed my life, man, period.
Toye asked his last question, and I got my one last question for the fire round, and this
my
is
bad.
truly,
I didn't mean to cut you off, man.
this is truly the last question.
That was Toye's last question. That wasn't my last question.
Oh man, dude.
You got it, man. You got it.
So JB, you gotta be ready for this. It's the last one for the fire round. What is something that you do not want an app to replace?
Oh, wait. What is something I do not want an app to replace?
Yes, sir.
Communication, man. Gosh darn it, we're too disconnected, man.
That's real.
Yeah.
Pick up the phone.
Right, that's what man, bro. I ain't got any friends anymore, man. Nobody wants to talk.
You're always in the air, though.
I knew something was wrong when I would call friends and they would just ask, like, "Hey, man, okay, what do you need, man? What's?" And I'd be like, "Man, I can't just call and check on you, bro. Like, what happened to that? I can't just call and check on you for 5 minutes, man, and catch up." But it's all.
Yeah, it's definitely a little suspect when you see a random call from somebody you haven't heard from.
They want some money.
Urgency.
Right.
Why are you not texting me right now?
Right. Oh God, that's sad, man. We got to stop that. We got to.
You're absolutely right, man.
I see people call me. I let it go to voicemail just so I could text them back.
Oh, see, that's
I'm sorry. I'm bad.
I know, man. Every time we call you, and it goes to voicemail. He's like, I don't feel like talking to this guy right now.
Right.
He's gonna talk to me about this darn podcast.
Right.
I bet. No. But that's awesome. We're at the point where we're just gonna wrap things up, man. So before I jump ahead of myself, I know me and Toya got this back and forth. You had any last closing thoughts or anything on your end, Toya?
Oh no, I think we covered some really good stuff here, and there's definitely a lot of good gems. All those gems will be listed in the show notes, and I would definitely recommend that everybody take a look at those references that JB brought up today, because they will definitely save you a lot of time and save you a lot of money.
JB, feel free to go ahead and share with people, like, if you want people to connect with you, how can they connect with you or learn more about not just Hyte, but also your other businesses too?
Oh yeah, man. You guys, I mean, my website is superpreneur.me. So it's super, S-U-P-E-R, and then preneur, P-R-E-N-E-U-R.me. It's like entrepreneur, but superpreneur. You can find me there, or JB@superpreneur.me. I respond to everybody. I answer all emails back, man. And you guys feel free to hit me through my website or on my email. I'm on social media. I've got Instagram and Twitter and all that with JB the Super, but I'm barely on there, so you guys might not find me, but active at least. So yeah, the website and email is the easiest way to get in contact with me, man. I'd love to hear from everybody.
Cool, and we will definitely connect when you make the trip out here.
I love it, man. Well, man, I appreciate you guys. I'm honored to be on, and yeah, it's been a blessing, man, connecting.
Oh man, it's all love over here too, man.